Welcome back to season 3 of the Semi Americans podcast. We're joined by our special guest here, Paul Lamar Hunter, who is an author, and we will discuss a little bit of how he's grown up and his book and what makes him him and how he came to our podcast.
Yeah. So Mr. Paul Lamar Hunter reached out to us. He has a really interesting story. We won't spoil a lot of it in the intro. He'll get into it himself. But safe to say, this I don't think anyone's ever heard a story like this. So we're very happy that you're able to join us, Paul. And please go ahead and make your entrance and let us know how you feeling. How you feeling this evening?
Well, I just want to thank you too, young man, for giving me the opportunity to come on your platform and share a remarkable story. I am the 19th child out of 21 natural children. Yes, my mom birthed 21 children by my dad. So use your imagination. I can say that my mom and dad, they love sex. In order for them to have a lot of kids, they really was getting down. The morning time, the afternoon, night, they were really active sexually. And so today there are 17 of us living, 63 amazing grandchildren, 87 great grandchildren. So I come from a family of love, joy, peace, and happiness. So I think that your listeners will be intrigued to see that I came from a huge family and I was the first to basically make history in the Hunter family.
So we're gonna get into that a little bit more because you're kind of you're leaving us with a cliffhanger as to what that means. Just to kind of get started, could you tell us a little bit more about your background? You were born and raised in Racine, Wisconsin. I had to actually ask you how to pronounce the name of the town. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, Racine, Wisconsin. Population is probably about 95,000. I
Hmm.
grew up in the 1970s, grew up in a great community. Everybody in the neighborhood knew each other. And if someone got out of hand, that neighbor had permission to discipline you. Um, One thing I like about being raised in the 70s is because we all knew each other. We grew up together. We played with each other. And in today's society, you don't see a lot of kids outside interacting with other children. So when they grow up, they don't have any communication skills, no social skills whatsoever. But the 70s and 80s were very great for us. So Racine, Wisconsin. Home of the Green Bay Packers, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm not a Packer fan, but I am a Milwaukee Bucks fan. All of my siblings are Green Bay Packer fans, and I'm the only 49ers fan in the family. So I remember a time on Sundays, we used to go to church, and after church, we would all go home and my mom and dad would make sure that we were sitting around the table watching the Green Bay Packers game. I've never been a fan of the Green Bay Packers, but my siblings, they love the Packers to this day. Me, I'm just going to remain a 49ers fan. So
It sounds like you're an anomaly in more than one way, right? And kind of stand out from your family in, I guess, more than one category.
yes. Indeed. I'm just totally opposite from all of my siblings, as you can see.
Mhm. What were the demographics like in Wisconsin in the town that you grew up in?
Oh, it was it was basically you had a mixed variety of people. We're not too far from Chicago. So
Okay.
we're like 30, 45 minutes away from Chicago. So we grew up in a variety of this community where it was blacks, Hispanics, Chinese, all nationalities living in Racine, Wisconsin. So it was great being raised there. I don't miss it because I live in San Antonio, Texas now, so I kind of left Racine, Wisconsin behind, and because I'm here in San Antonio, Texas, with my children and my granddaughter, so Wisconsin I don't miss. I will be going back in a couple months, but I don't miss the place. But I wish nothing but the best for the city of Racine, Wisconsin.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. So yeah, Daniel had a transition question now, so we can kind of get into some of the things that were mentioned in your book. And of course, at the end of the episode, we'll definitely plug for the book and let people know where they can get a copy. But go ahead, Daniel, if you wanna.
So you kind of started getting into your family, right, and talking about how many children that were in the family. Um, and before, when we had talked to you, you mentioned that you were the only one to graduate college, right? Could you tell us a little bit of why that is and how you came to come along that path, why you chose that path?
Well, I knew when I was about 10, 11 years old that I was going to be the first to experience success. Not only experience success, but be the first to complete some things in life. I look back at my mom lineage, my father lineage, and no one never graduated from college. No one. So I took it upon myself and said that I'm going to be the first to graduate from college. I was going to be the first to be an author in the family. I just knew that it was going to happen. In order for it to happen, I had to surround myself with positive men and women. And if young people that is listening to this interview, if they want to be successful, the most important thing that they need to do is change their mindset and also surround themselves with positive men and women. Being the first to graduate from college is a big accomplishment, not only for me, but also for the Hunter family and for people that don't have any hope, and also inner city children as well. So I just was a person that wanted to lay the foundation, and I laid that foundation. Now I have a lot of my nieces and nephews went to college, graduated, received their bachelor's of science, and also went on to receive their master's degree as well. So if God used me to be a person to lay the foundation, I love it because now I'm able to see a lot of my siblings, people that read my book, No Love, No Charity, The Success of the 19th Child, read it and then go back to college and graduate. It's a success story. Just imagine growing up in the inner city, and when you grow up in the inner city, there's not a lot of hope. There's not a lot of encouragement. But what I was able to do is separate myself and build myself up and be around positive men and women that really encourage me to go out and find success and never make any excuses. So once I stepped into Upper Iowa University, I knew there's one direction that I could go, and that's up. So anybody that is listening, I'm telling you, change your mindset. Your mindset, have an attitude, a positive attitude to never give up.
So for you, when you mentioned, you were 10, 11 years old when you just had that almost like epiphany where you were saying to yourself, I will be the first one to accomplish this goal for my family. Where did that come from? Was that a conversation that you had with someone? Was there like a mentor that encouraged
A
you,
role
or
model?
yeah, what was the source of that inspiration? And you mentioned God and faith. I'm sure that played a role too, but
That inspiration came from when I was around 10, 11 years old. I used to listen to my mother and father have these little arguments in the house and say that some of my brothers and sisters did not complete high school, and it really disturbed them. And so I said to myself that I was going to be the first to graduate from college and be the first to be the first author in the Hunter family. And I did it. I did it, and I am delighted to be the first. And I know that I'm not going to be the last now to experience success in the Hunter family. So it really motivated me when I heard my mom and dad very disappointed. The credit to my mom, she gave me life, to my dad, and also to my older siblings. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here sitting having this interview with you guys. But I give a lot of credit to my mom, my dad, and also my older siblings. And so when I walked that stage, I was not only walking the stage for me, but I was walking it for my mom, for my dad, for my siblings, for my children, and also for children in the inner city, people that don't have any hope whatsoever. So I'm just a person just passing by, and on this journey, I want to tell everybody that I don't care where you come from, you can make it in this world.
So, Paul, did you? And I want to ask you this question because it's something that I've had several conversations regarding this topic that I'm about to ask you about. When you were able to get to those positions, right? When you were in college, and you kind of talked about you, did you feel like you were representing more than just yourself? And if so, like here's Paul, he's beat the odds, he's made it to college. Was
I
there pressure? What was there? What was that experience like for you?
Well, I tell you what, college was totally, totally different. Coming from the inner city,
Mhm.
um, walking into that Upper Iowa University, um, I I wanted, I represented myself, but I did it for myself. But I also wanted other people to see that here's a guy that grew up dirt poor. Here's
Mhm.
a guy that did not have a lot of clothes. Here's a guy that was beaten down mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, and he made it. So I represent the inner city. I'm a product of the public school, and I'm a product of the inner city.
Mhm.
And I am delighted to be a product of the public school and also the inner city, because what you see here today is a man that is on a mission to change the world, to give people hope, to share love, and also to let people know it does not matter where you come from, it's where you're going.
Yeah, some really powerful statements there, and thank you for openly sharing that too, because I'm sure there are countless of people that will end up hearing this and may be able to relate, whether it's with themselves or someone that they know, whether it's friends or family. So,
And I guess beyond, going to college and graduating and achieving that accomplishment, when did you decide that, hey, I wanted to write a book and, become an author?
Well, when I was in college, doing my homework, making sure that I complete my homework as quickly as possible. While I was there, I was also writing my book, and a lot of people did not like that. They did not like it, especially my professor. But I had told my professors from day one that while I'm studying, I'm going to be in the process of writing a book. And they thought it was, too much, because the load, the academic load it was a lot. But I was laid off from my job, so I had a lot of time on my hand, and I was just focused. I wanted to complete college as soon as possible. And on the weekends, sometime on the weekdays, I would get up at 12 o'clock midnight, and I would write to about 5 or 6 in the morning, and then I would go to sleep for a couple of hours, wake up, and go to night class. But it was a challenge writing the book. But what it did, it brought a lot of healing. A lot of things had to come out of me. A lot of ugliness had to come out, and I had to purge out a lot of resentment, a lot of bitterness, a lot of jealousy. And so the book was cathartic for me, and it made me a better man writing that book. So I was complete after the book came out and it was published. I was totally complete.
How did you come to the title?
Oh, No Love, No Charity.
Uh-huh.
The success of the 19th child. It came from my mom starting a homeless shelter. My mom had a homeless shelter titled Love and Charity. It was the first homeless shelter in the state of Wisconsin. And that homeless shelter stayed active for 45 years. The my mother was pregnant with me, 3 months pregnant with me when she started the homeless shelter.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? So basically, she was giving birth physically to me, but she was also giving birth to a homeless shelter that needed to be established in the city of Racine because homelessness, you see it today, is just out of control. And I thank my mom for starting that homeless shelter because she helped so many men and women in the city of Racine, Wisconsin. Most definitely. The title of my mother's book is Love and Charity, the life story of Louise Hunter and the Love and Charity Homeless Shelter. That book was written by Dr. Dennis James Woods. That book is available at Barnes & Noble's, Amazon.com. So both books, my mother book, my book, has been adapted into a screenplay. Also, Tail Flick wrote the page pitch, and so producers, movie directors, they have it, and they are in the process of putting everything together.
You know, your mutual lives and families, right?
Hmm.
What are some differences, just snippets for our audience here, um, between your book and your mother's book?
Well, my book chronicles my life from the day I was born all the way up until graduation, my relationship with my mother, father, um, my relationship with my siblings, my adversity of almost dying in a house fire, and how my brother died in a house fire, but I survived. And it also deal with my relationship with my 4 children and my parenting style that was different from my mother parenting style. And so it's totally different from my mother's book. My mom's book, like I said previously, was written by Dr. Dennis James Woods, and it chronicles her life and how she had to run away from the KKK in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and how she had to cover herself with a bunch of leaves and debris, and she saw her cousin get raped and murdered by the KKK, and how it traumatized her at a young 11-year-old girl, and how she was basically detached from her children. See, my mother, we couldn't say, I love you to my mom. My mother despised those words. So when I had to do research on my mom's history, that's what I discovered. You understand? She wasn't you couldn't hug my mom. And so you couldn't say, I love you. So as I became an adult, it envied my mom when she saw that my older siblings was totally different from my mom because they will hug their kids. They will tell their kids, I love you. We did not get that from my mother. So my older siblings are totally different from my mom. So when you read my mother's book, Love and Charity, the life story of Louise Hunter in the Love and Charity homeless shelter, you would get to the root cause of this is the behavior that changed my mother's life, that made her abnormal toward her kids. But she did a lot of good in the community. And one thing I want to stress, you cannot give what you don't have, and that your parents are not perfect. So I understood that after I did my research on my mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the significant event with the unfortunate passing of your brother, but on top of that, you also had the passing of your father. I believe it was a year later. How did that impact the dynamics within the family? I'm sure you
Oh,
could.
it really did um, broke the family to the core because
Mm,
the man is the head of the house. As a father myself, my kids call me when they something is going wrong with my children. They will call me, and when you are the man and you're the head, no matter what is going on, your children will call you. And my father, when he died in that car crash, it just hurt the Hunter family because we look to him as our leader, as our superhero. He was like a Superman to us, and what I was able to do is lean on my older brothers and sisters. So my older brothers really stepped up to the plate. They became like a substitute dad for the young ones, and also my sisters, they became like a substitute mother for us. So if it wasn't for my older brothers and sisters, um, I can tell you right now, I don't know how I would have made it. And it was good people in the community, especially members from the church, used to always come over and talk with us and pray with us and counsel us because my
mm,
father was the provider in the Hunter family. He worked 2 jobs, 16 hours a day, and he was off on the weekend. So when that happened, that's when we began to struggle financially.
mhm. And what did you take away from that grief? What were the things that you learned? I mean, I'm sure grieving is a never ending process, truly, but
I can tell you this, I grew up angry
mm,
because I used to look at kids that had their father
hmm
and they'd be outside playing and stuff. And I used to use my imagination saying that I wish my father, will be present to play with me, throw the football with me, do homework with me. And so what I took away from it is that for me, I said to myself that when I have kids, that I'm going to, make sure that I do the things that is right, cherish the moment. And so when I started to have kids, I cherished every moment. I was my kids' basketball coach. I
hmm
was my kids' advisor. I did homework with my children, and so my father passed away at the age of 42. So when he passed away, there's another thing that I said to myself. I said that I want to outlive my father. So here I am today at the age of 52 years old, and I can say I outlived my father. But some of my brothers and sisters today, they are still coping with the death of my father. And some of them hasn't recovered from that. They haven't bounced back from it. And just to hear them still talk about it today, they still bitter, they still upset because the way he died in a car crash and nothing was done to this individual, it still bothered my older brothers and sisters. I'm able to get over it because I know that I have a big purpose, and so I have to move forward in life. And I have my children, and also I have my granddaughter, so I have to keep moving.
For sure, for sure. I mean, just based off of our conversation, what you've been telling us, it seems like there's been a lot of twists and turns and a lot of drama in your life, and what the book's based off of, right? So I guess based off with the screenplay and that being in the process in the works, what are some things that you would want the audience to gain from potentially seeing this movie or reading your book?
Well, I think I want them to read the book and say that here's a man, the 19th child out of 21 children that his mom gave birth to, experienced a lot of tragedies, never gave up, persevere, had the mind to push through all the setbacks and made his message, a positive message to never give up, keep moving forward, stay in faith, stay in love, and always be a person to build people up and not tear them down.
So it sounds like definitely, everything starts in the mind, and the perseverance and the willingness to keep going is what not only brought you to become who you are right now, but is also something that you would want to portray and project to the future upcoming generations. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Mhm. So, what do you, Paul? What do you think is the best message for our audience? I mean, our audience is pretty diverse, and we have listeners from all over the world. We have listeners, from different backgrounds. What is kind of like the universal message? I know you have a lot of messages in your book, but if you're given, I mean, you technically are given a mic right now, but if you had a whole, auditorium filled with people, and you had a minute to say something to them, what are the biggest takeaways you want them to have?
I really want them to live in the moment, dream with your heart, always take the time to spend with your loved ones, and tell them every time that you have an opportunity, give them a hug and let them know that you love them, because anything can change in a moment.
You never know what life is going to bring, right?
Yeah.
In the next day, right?
Mhm.
Nothing is
Yes.
taken for granted.
Yes.
Yep, that's again more powerful things. I mean, just all your experiences, I think, have culminated in you being able to grow such an interesting perspective. From your unique upbringing to all the obstacles that you had to overcome, both mental and those set by others or by the system, and to see all the success you've had is truly amazing.
Hey, it is amazing. Just being the first, it's a big accomplishment. Being the first is just huge. Um, Going through a lot of adversity, people telling you that you should never go to college, and if your mama didn't do it, if your dad didn't do it, you shouldn't do it. But you stayed the course. You let those negative words go right out right out your mind, and you said, no, I'm going to persevere. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep moving. So that's the reason why I believe that people need to go out and purchase both books, Love and Charity, The Life Story of Louise Hunter, and the Love and Charity Homeless Shelter, and also my book, No Love, No Charity, The Success of the 19th Child. I believe they should go out and purchase both books if they want to see change happen in their lives.
And where can they do that, Paul? Is it available? It's available on Amazon, from what I saw, right? And
Yes, it is available on Amazon, and also you can walk into Barnes and Nobles and purchase the book. And I am available for speaking engagements, book signing. All you have to do is go to my website, paullamarhunter.com.
Mhm.
I'm on social media under Paul Lamar Hunter. That's my name, Paul Lamar Hunter. So you can find me on any social media platform under the name Paul Lamar Hunter.
Perfect. And in the episode description, on the YouTube, as well as the podcast on Apple and Spotify, we'll have all the links below, so our audience can go ahead and easily access the book links as well as your social media and websites.
Definitely. Yeah. So we'll make sure that they'll be able to contact you as well, if you are available for the speaking engagements. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our audience. This is season 3 of the Semi Americans podcast. Another episode with a wonderful guest, a unique guest. And this is an episode that we didn't really plan for, to be honest with you, and we're glad that you reached out to us, and you're able to bring all the different perspectives that you're able to bring. So thank you for sharing all of your thoughts, and all of the lessons that you've learned along the way.
All right. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Definitely.
All right. Check us out in 2 weeks, to our audience, and thank you as always for the support.